A very warm welcome to all our viewers. Welcome to the Sentinels Newsmakers. My guest today is Mr. Kailash Karthik. He is an IS officer, presently posted as the Deputy Commissioner. In fact, he is the person in charge of Kamrup Rural. Mr. Karthik, welcome to the Sentinels Newsmakers. So,
Thank you, Ms. Oja. Thank you.
pleasure. So, first off, of course, it's about the whole COVID situation. How are you coping with the? I'm sure there must be a whole lot of challenges there, and you have successfully overcome most of those. Share all of those experiences of yours with us.
Firstly, I would thank you and Sentinel for giving this opportunity for us to explain our side of the story, which is not often gets reflected in covered in the mainstream media. So I'm very glad that I speak on behalf of many other deputy commissioners who would have also wanted to share similar stories. Right now,
Yes.
in terms of overcoming the challenge per se, I don't think we've yet overcome the challenge.
Mhm.
It's been a sort of a long battle. We've been ahead of the curve, try and make sure that we are always ahead of how fast the spread of the disease happens. Stages we were focused on trying to make sure that there is there's no chance of a community spread at all, and we tried our best in terms of setting up quarantine centers when people came back from uh, various parts of
Mhm.
the country, across
Yeah.
the district and across the state. And subsequently, when we did see that there were a lot of cases which despite the best efforts of the government, despite that, when we realized that there were a lot of cases coming out from various parts, what we also then subsequently focused our energy, we completely
Yes.
shifted our focus on making sure that
Mhm.
the people who have been tested positive, one, they get the best sort of care in the COVID care center so that
Yeah.
they recover fast and go back home with a positive frame of mind, and while also making sure that we increasing our testing so that this doesn't become a
Mhm.
further a larger community spread where in which case the health infrastructure will be completely stretched. So
Mhm.
at the district level, we've had, as of today as we speak, about
Yeah.
1972 cases in Kamrup rural. A substantial part of this is obviously because Kamrup rural is the most adjacent district to Guwahati, and a lot
Correct.
of people who work and live in Kamrup rural, people either live in Kamrup rural and work in Guwahati, or people
Mm.
live in Guwahati and work in Kamrup rural in various industries. So there's a
Mm.
lot. It's in a lot of sense, it's like a twin city. So right. So the lockdown that was given in Kamrup in Metro or Guwahati about
Mm.
3 weeks
Mm.
back, that had a
Mm.
dramatic impact in slowing down the spread of virus even in Kamrup rural, because the inter-district movement was restricted to a large extent. But
Yeah.
now, since one cannot be in lockdown mode forever, obviously for the rights reasons, the government has lifted
Mm.
the lockdown. Now we are also seeing the spread of the disease, or we're
Mm.
finding more cases in the district as well. We've been trying to increase our testing rate.
Mm.
We used to test something like around 500 samples a day about 10 days back, which
Okay.
which as a percentage of our population was about 35 samples per lakh population per day.
Mhm.
Now, as of today, we have increased this to about 1,400 samples a day. This sort of
Okay.
means that we are able to test between 75 to 80 people per lakh per day. Now, the way Guwahati very aggressively started testing from July 1st, where they set up the ward level counseling centers.
Yeah.
Similarly, we are also setting up similar centers in various parts of the district. I mean, Kamrup Rural has a lot of small towns, starting
Yeah.
from Boko, Soigaon,
Mm.
Vijayanagar, Mirza, Palashbari, Rangya, Sualkusi, etc., etc.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, especially in these small towns where there's a large aggregation of people, we are
Mm.
trying to set up similar centers. We've already set up about 11 centers, COVID care and counseling centers, and starting this
Yeah.
Monday, we are ramping it up to about 41 centers. So we are I mean, through this, what we
Yeah.
intend to do, the objective is to sort of make testing as accessible as possible to the public and take it
Right.
as close to where
Mm.
they live and meet and work, so that at that point itself, without causing additional stress on them,
Mm.
we are
Mm.
able to identify and test these people and uh, give them a sort of an opportunity to get themselves medically tested. So these are some of
Right.
the strategies that we're working on, which I'm
Right.
sure in the long run we'll have it'll have a very fruitful impact.
Absolutely. Obviously, it will. So now, has it been a little bit of a challenge, maintaining, ensuring that the people there, they really understand what the whole COVID thing is, how, they have to maintain social distance, the health hygiene, and all of those stuff. Was it really tough in the initial days? How has been the past 4 months, treated you actually?
Truth be told, I mean, I have just been a deputy commissioner of Kamrup for about 2 months now. I used to be
Mhm.
earlier in the finance department as joint secretary, so I would not the initial part of the COVID outbreak. I
Yeah.
wasn't there, so I wouldn't venture out to say how difficult it was. But
Right.
having said that, I did still during that time I had a sort of a bird's eye view, being part
Hmm.
of finance and being very
Right.
closely associated with health department. So from that experience, I think it was extremely difficult to sort of uh, uh, you know convey the messages of social
Yes.
distancing, wearing masks,
Mm.
regularly sanitizing your hands. I think these are completely foreign
Mm.
concepts for not just the people in the rural India, but also
Right.
rural Assam, but also for all of us. I think
Right.
we've not seen a situation like this ever. Obviously,
Mm.
when some of us have traveled, we've seen people in the west, in the eastern part of the world. I mean,
Mhm.
Japan or other countries, they did seem
Yes.
to have had this sort of an experience of you see people wearing masks, but it's very foreign for us. So it was
Mm.
definitely difficult, and some of those messages we still are trying to percolate it down to the field, because people, while they are aware I don't think there can be a larger or a more effective IEC campaign, because each time we pick up a phone, we keep getting the
Mhm.
messages repeatedly on and on. So it is imprinted on the minds of people, but somehow, somewhere during the from that distillation to the actual adoption on
Yeah.
the field, there are gaps for sure. Each time once one goes out to the field for visits, we realize that there are a lot of them
Mhm.
completely following it, but many of them still not following it. So we keep urging people,
Yeah.
and it is also a disease where the scientific nature of the disease itself is being understood on a daily basis. I mean,
Yes.
there are numerous studies coming out each day. Our understanding of the disease seems to get better and better. So
Mhm.
what sometimes one conveys to the public is sometimes then another research completely says is the opposite. So that
Mm.
also leaves
Right.
the people with a lot of confusions on what is the right step to do. And uh, and beyond a point, I mean, the idea is also not to completely scare people, because
Mhm.
I think the morbid fear of the disease would mean that then there are other difficulties, especially for those who are affected by it, to go back
Yeah.
and reintegrate with the rest of the mainstream
Right.
villages where they are living. Right? So we have
Yeah.
been trying to take a balance on this, and
Mm. Mhm.
yeah, so that's how it's been.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So personally, for you, from the finance department directly to handling Kamrup rural must have been quite a shift.
Yeah, it is, because there you deal with numbers and here you deal with real
Yes,
life. So yes,
absolutely.
yeah, definitely it's been a sort of steep learning curve, and one didn't have time to sort of settle down. Starting day one, we
Mm-hmm.
had to start with
Mm.
hit the ground running kind of a situation.
Mm. Yes.
But thankfully, we've had a very good team. And in general, from the administration side, health department, police, and even the public in general have been fairly
Yeah.
cooperative. Media, everybody has been fairly cooperative. So it's been so far we've managed to stay ahead of the game. I would say,
Yeah.
if I can use the word, right? So
Yes.
So we'll figure out as the days goes by.
Absolutely. So, we all know our rural, I mean, urban healthcare has never been up to the mark, let alone the status as far as the rural healthcare space is concerned. It's true of whole of India. Now, how have you managed to cope with that particular challenge, the rural healthcare space?
So yeah, I mean, across India, I think there's been enough literature on how our spending needs to increase. But I think
Yes.
COVID, I mean, I think it's brought back the focus of everybody. I think from the
Mm.
public to the media to the administration to the governments, everybody. I think the focus has come back on healthcare and.
Mm.
Uh, in specific to your question specific to the
Mm.
issues in uh,
Yeah.
COVID per se, I think
Yeah.
the kind of investments that the government is making in making sure that the spread of the disease is as low as possible and the
Mhm.
mortality rates are as low as possible. I think that it's been probably unparalleled in any of the other states as well, right? I mean, whether it's
Right.
from free
Yes.
testing to free transportation to free lodging, free fooding, free treatment,
Mm.
and so many other things that
Yes.
which doesn't get often reflected in the media. So there's been, I think, a huge investment from the government side, and the
Hmm.
fact that
Hmm.
the government is so proactively doing it is also sort of completely mobilized the healthcare staff as well, right? I think while we hear from other states about how there is negligence of doctors or few other issues that keeps
Hmm.
propping up in
Mhm.
newspapers, you don't seem to hear that many in Assam.
Right.
I think it's
Right.
just being the sheer drive and the amount of effort the doctors, nurses, and other health staff, whether it's the laboratory technicians and cleaners and all of those people were putting in, sort of has helped us, despite whatever shortcomings we have
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
rural
Hmm.
healthcare space, whether it is the number of doctors to per 1
Right.
lakh population, or whether it is the health infrastructure, the quality of the health infrastructure. Somehow we've been able to overcome all of that challenges
Mhm.
with the specific focus of on COVID. But
Yeah.
once COVID, subsides, the situation
Yes.
subsides. I think that is a time when the government will probably sit down and try and understand, what are the lessons from this sort of an experience, and
Hmm.
what
Hmm.
long-term measures we need to do, so that
Right.
even if tomorrow there is a similar situation, God forbid,
Hmm.
in a few years
Hmm.
from now,
Hmm.
how can we prepare ourselves? A lot of the
Yes.
hard work that we've done this time, whether it is from increasing the testing laboratories from 0 for COVID RT-PCR to about 16, I guess, right now. These are
Hmm.
permanent
Hmm.
infrastructure which will stand the health department or the state in great stead going forward.
Right.
Likewise, I think
Yes.
the kind of exposure that the disease surveillance program teams which have got right now, the kind of exposures that the lab technicians, the doctors have
Hmm.
got for a infectious disease like this, I think this will have a dramatic impact on the other surveillance that we do for other diseases, whether it is JE or malaria or dengue,
Yeah.
etc. I think this will have a sort of positive rub off uh,
Right.
on those things as well.
Absolutely. The state will be much better prepared to take on any kind of health
Yeah,
emergency in the coming months or years.
yeah,
Yes. You mentioned about Japanese encephalitis. So Assam already has witnessed, I think, at least 45 deaths in the past few days due to Japanese encephalitis, and there are reports from the National Health Missions saying that this is also uh, really a huge threat as far as the health situation of Assam is concerned. So that is one. Then there's this other whole thing of African swine flu. So are these things also prevalent in your areas?
yeah, yeah. Kamrup Rural has had JE cases. We've had about 9 cases so far, of which
Mhm.
there have been 3 mortalities. So this is certainly a cause of
Right.
concern for us. But we are stepping our surveillance efforts in trying to sort of identify and treat people at the very early stages, and also
Yeah.
increasing our efforts on prevention. So that's something that we've focused on. But the good part, or the good part that we could see today is in a comparative year-to-year sort of a comparison. In the same period in last year, we had about 29 cases. Right now, we have about 9, and the number of deaths
Right.
is also about one fourth of what was there last year in the
Mhm.
district. Right?
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
while deaths are also something that we should take every step to avoid. I mean, I'm not
Right.
trying to justify, but
Yes.
but then this is something that has happened, and among other reasons, I think one of the main reasons that why we have been able to sort of cut down the number of deaths is obviously
Mm.
because of the increased surveillance that is happening because of COVID, because we are setting
Right.
up fever clinics, because we are setting up
Hmm.
community surveillance programs, because we are, the health workers almost on a daily basis meet with
Hmm.
almost every single individual in the rural areas, right? So these cases are getting picked up much faster. So that is one reason why we've been able to cut down. Now, in terms of
Okay.
African swine flu, thankfully, we have not had any such
Right.
case in Kamrup
Mm,
Rural.
mm,
And
mm.
on that also, our surveillance efforts are on, and
Right.
we will take all necessary precautions.
Yes. So let's move on to the flood situation. Of course, resources are limited, whether it's manpower or the funds. So, how has the situation been so far?
So, I mean, I think 2020 is a very special year in that sense. I mean, we've had some of the most difficult floods in 2020 now, this year. So,
Yes.
the Kamrup Rural has about 11 circles, and of which 9 circles
Mm,
have had instances of flood, erosion, etc.
mm,
Right.
mm,
So, in certain areas like Rangya
mm.
town, which is probably not witnessed a flood in the last 10 or 15 years, or probably even longer, has this time witnessed 3 waves of floods.
Yes.
As we speak, yesterday also there was a wave of flood, and most of the
Mm.
town is submerged. I mean, these have
Yes.
been extraordinary situations. The team has been handling it. We've had about, I would say, we've had about 278 villages which have been affected in the district on floods. There are certain circles where places like Nagarbera, Goraimari, Samoria,
Mm,
etc., which are very badly affected. Hajo is very badly
mm.
affected, but certain villages, where certain areas, the pockets of the
Yeah.
certain pockets of the circle have been affected. So, as per
Mm.
the now, obviously because of COVID, challenges are even more
Mm.
greater in managing floods, because you need to also ensure social distancing, the wearing of
Yes.
masks, sanitizers, and
Mm.
so a lot of those things which also sort of make the challenge even more difficult. But
Right.
I think with the support of the public, we've been able to sort of uh, uh, take care of this, and we will,
Mhm.
in a few days' time, we intend to also carry aggressive testing in these camps to see if
Okay.
we can find if there are any positive cases.
Right. All right. Now, regarding the education in the rural areas, we always, our government also has always been pretty concerned. But now, with online classes happening, schools shut, now we are even more concerned about our children there in the rural areas, the online classes. Many people might in the rural areas might not have been able to join those classes because of not having a smartphone, of course the internet issues. Even urban areas we face a lot of problem with the net connectivity. So what are the plans there? What are you doing for the kids there?
Yeah, at the state level, I think the government has already started a number of television channels and radio channels through which they have been trying
Yeah.
to reach out to the students with these content over and top of the internet. And you rightly
Mhm.
highlight that in rural Assam, I mean, even a place like Kamrup, which is so close to Guwahati, there are a lot of
Yeah.
places where internet facilities or access to smartphone is also very
Yeah.
restricted. So our sense of the coverage of the people is, we've been definitely been able to reach out to more than 70-75% of the
Mhm.
children, and through various mediums, and the others also were we have not been able to reach out. We've been the teachers have been doing smaller sessions either at homes or in some small community halls, so that children don't get completely left behind. Now, the focus, however, kind of learning that would otherwise happen in a classroom, it's been in certain topics have been well covered, certain topics there are gaps. So
Yeah.
we've also been preparing catch-up program plans starting from class 1 to onwards, where
Yeah.
which we intend to sort of, when the schools reopen, we will
Mhm.
get the children to sort of the teachers to deliver these catch-up plans, which will help them to come to speed on those topics which they have probably not understood or missed. Now, there are certain pockets where we've not our interventions have not borne full fruit. One
Mhm.
is the hilly areas of the district, and secondly, the SOR areas of the district. Those are areas
Mm.
which are inaccessible not just by in smartphones or internet, but also
Mhm.
physically the teachers going in and
Yeah.
teaching is also, while they're trying their best, but it's been, I would say, we've only seen partial success there. So there are some
Okay.
practical challenges. We've understood that. We are also trying to create reading materials which
Mhm.
we intend to sort of, in those areas where we have not been able to access, especially for the higher grades, the
Okay.
higher school and the higher secondary school.
Mhm.
We've been creating this content which we intend to home deliver to children, and then in these sort of areas where they can do these practice exams, practice questions, and understand and brush up the concepts. And then when the school reopens, we intend to have these catch-up plans.
Okay, all right. Now, you have areas like Hajo, Swalkuchi. These are some of the locations where, Hajo has a lot of bell metal artisans and all. And then even Swalkuchi, everybody knows the weavers community there. The Assam silk comes from that place. So, has there been some kind of an assessment as far as the economic impact is concerned due to COVID lockdown? And also, any schemes that the administration has already rolled out for their livelihood and sustenance?
Yeah. So, truth be told, we've not had a official sort of an assessment, or a scientific assessment rather,
Mhm.
scientific assessment of the impact, the economic impact of lockdown and the COVID situation on
Mm.
some of these
Mm.
clusters. So that we are yet to initiate a economic study. But having said that, we've been doing, we've been closely interacting with the communities, and we've been getting the pulse of the challenges that they are facing. So under the
Yeah.
so as immediate sort of support, in terms of whether it is just simple sustenance
Mhm.
support, government has been taking up a number of schemes where, just for the hill piece, or the
Mm.
artists, right? So
Yeah.
there have been certain schemes where free rice and
Mhm.
those sort of things have been extended even for those who do not come under the strict definition of
Right.
NFSA, right? So those sort of
Mm.
interventions have been done, but now under the Atmanirbhar Bharat
Mm.
schemes, so for the MSME sector itself, there is a lot of proactive incentives where they can take some collateral-free lending, and then there are guarantees given to the banks, so that in case of any failure of return of loan, etc. So those sort of things have been taken up by the government, and the banks are also actively involved. But the at a larger level, I think a
Mm.
lot of these things will come once we are able to sort of overcome the larger battle of COVID,
Yes.
because right, because it's
Mm.
challenges. Everybody in the ecosystem is sometimes caught up. The bankers are sometimes
Mm.
found positive. Sometimes the
Right.
people who are involved in that, they are found positive, or sometimes the administration side, some
Mm.
people are stuck
Yes.
up. So some of these things we need to really work out, in the coming few days.
Coming. Right. Absolutely. So I'm sure, COVID, then the floods also post COVID and post floods, these are going to throw up a lot more challenges, speaking health wise and overall infrastructure, livelihood wise. So, but you've already said that this right now you all are really tied up fighting COVID and also taking care of the flood situation at this point of time. And like places like Rangia, after almost a decade, they have seen a lot of flooding this time round. So a lot of challenges for the administration already. But have you also started thinking about how you're going to cope up next? Once these things subside, then what? Because I feel, and I'm sure you all are aware of this particular fact, that it's the challenges are going to be maybe much manifold, larger than what we are seeing right now.
Yeah, certainly. I think the impact that COVID is going to leave on the economy, the impact it is going to leave on lives, I think it's going to be, I mean, it's probably something that we can't perceive or imagine at this
Yeah.
point in time, right?
Mhm.
Definitely, there are going to be huge challenges coming for going forward. I mean, one is the people who have lost their jobs, who are working
Yeah.
outside, who were remitting maybe 3,000 or
Mm.
4,000 or 5,000 per month to
Mm.
their families working in
Yeah.
different places of the country. Now they have a large number of them have come back. So that's a big
Mm.
set of group. On top of that, a lot of industries within or sectors within the state of also which were creating employment opportunities to people that has also been impacted because of
Right.
lower consumption, etc. But I think a lot of these things, the government of India is also giving a lot of fillip on credit-based lending, which will sort of
Yeah.
put money back in the hands of the people who can then subsequently spend, and that will kickstart a virtuous
Mhm.
cycle of economic growth. Right? I think there's a lot of focus on that. And for us also, at least, I mean, the schemes at the state level, there are a lot of schemes where which the government had announced in the last budget, where the focus has been on cutting or any sort of red tapeism that may exist
Mm.
and directly
Mhm.
putting money in the hands of the public. So I think a lot of those schemes are focused after COVID, or while COVID during COVID also. Now that a
Yeah.
lot of things are understood and stabilized about how we handle COVID, so
Mhm.
I think we will now shift focus. The government will probably give us direction to also work on developmental schemes, which I think
Right.
will help us sort of overcome some of these challenges.
Yes. Well, I'm really happy to hear that, when you said that cutting or you'll just not have that red tape thing impact anybody's, access to credit and access to the benefits of many of the schemes that the government has announced. Because, of course, the government ends up announcing a lot for the people, but for some reason or the other, implementation is where we have been lacking. It's not just about Assam, it's about whole of India. And you, as an IS officer, would know much better about all these things than I would as a media person. We just keep reporting, but you all experience and go through all of these firsthand almost every day. So, our areas, the rural areas in particular, they have a lot of, agri-produce, and they're involved in different type of farming as well. Like pisciculture is something which is very prevalent across Assam. Now many youth have taken up pig farming. Many of our youth have taken up different kind of agricultural activities. There are a lot of agripreneurs now that Assam has. Now, have you, as one of the leading deputy commissioners of the state, thought of something, creating those backward and forward linkages, getting the right markets for these people? Though, yes, of course, at this point of time, I understand you are totally occupied fighting bigger battles, but in the long run, these could be important things as well to help the state grow.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could have said better. I think agriculture is sort of the backbone of Assam, Assam's economy. Otherwise, also, I think COVID only. I mean,
Mm.
using COVID as an opportunity, I think we should even focus even more on agriculture and make sure that it is economical for the farmers. Right? So there's
Mhm.
absolutely no doubts on that. Now, in terms of these schemes, I think, like you said, fisheries is being given a big impact. impetus this time by Government of India. Government of India has launched a flagship program called Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, where over the next 5 to 7 years they want to develop, increase the fish production, focusing on the entire value chain and the ecosystem to make sure that there is substantial exports from India in pisciculture. And Assam having such a large water source across in ponds and lakes and rivers, I think there's a lot of focus from the government of Assam also on this. On top of that, there is a World Bank project which is being driven from by the Agriculture Department called APART, which works on picking up some of the agriculture producers which have great potential in various regions. So in Kamrup rural, pineapples and turmeric, and some of the pisciculture, fisheries, etc. There are agriculture. There are certain paddy cultivation, etc. So there are certain value chains which have been chosen, where interventions like you highlighted, both on the forward linkages in terms of access to market, better storage facilities, etc., has been identified, and also backward linkages in trying to bring out new varieties of paddy or better farming practices through capacity building, forming groups into farmer producer organizations, sort of looking at agropreneurs as startups and in giving them seed money so that they can scale up. These are all activities which are happening in parallel, while we are doing the other activities on COVID or flood and other things. So these are activities which are happening in parallel, and there's been a lot of progress across the state, I would think, which has been made on identifying the right value chains for each of the various districts. And the state government is pushing each of us to sort of provide what we can do to sort of take it, sort of the 5-year plans, how can we implement them, and what interventions we need to do so that the production and then subsequently its marketing and consumption increases dramatically from Assam.
All right. Okay. It was wonderful speaking to you, Mr. Karthik. All the best. I'm sure a lot of challenges ahead as you move on, and too many things happening at the same point of time. Like you said, 2020 seems to be a very special year. Not in a very happy terms though, but you all have been doing a great job. Thank you for all the good work that all you administrators have been doing, and looking forward for more such fruitful interactions with you. Thank you once again for joining me today on Sentinels Newsmakers. Pleasure speaking.
Thank you so much. I think it's been a pleasure for me also, and I think I thank on behalf of so many others who've been working, whether it's deputy commissioners or others. I think positive stories and positive things definitely motivate all of us. And thank you for holding this interview. Thank you.
And I would like to mention here, Mr. Karthik, that we are, planning to. In fact, I'm planning to speak to as many deputy commissioners across all our 33 districts. In fact, starting with you, I'm looking forward to interacting with almost all of them and hearing their story.
That'll be great. Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks. Goodbye. And viewers, thank you so much for joining us today. Looking forward to meeting you again. Till then, it's a goodbye. Stay safe. Take care.